and then, or something bad happens to you, or some injury, whatever, and then of course a month, and you've said all the bad things, and you've done the mistake, and you've said so many wrong things, out of haste, or out of rage, or out of whatever, because you couldn't deal with things, and then later you decide to show patience, when things are easier for you anyway to show patience, you said no, that is your instruction, be patient. When you first have the blow of your tragedy, that is the time to be patient. And he taught her that instruction, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Another example, a man was in the mosque of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he gets up and he urinates in the Prophet's stand. He just gets up and he needed to go and he just urinates in the Prophet's mosque. And the companions are seeing this man and they're thinking, what on earth is happening here? They said, bah, come on, stop. What are you doing? This is a mosque. What are you doing? You can't urinate in a mosque. And the Prophet saw him. And the Prophet told his companions, leave him alone. Leave him be. Let him finish. You can't disturb a man in that situation. He said, just leave him be. Leave him alone. Wait for him to finish. And he leaves him. The man carries on. When he finishes, the Prophet says to this man, he said, this is the house of Allah. This is a place of prayer, a place of worship, of remembrance of God. This is not a place of urinating, not a place of defecating, not a place of filth, not a place of any uncleanliness. And he commanded someone to bring water, put the water over the area where he urinated, he cleaned it up. But the man was so impressed by the Prophet's way of instructing. When he sat down, he told his people, he says, Bi abi wa ummi, by my parents, meaning may they be sacrificed for him. Let me end but let me sob. He never scolded me. He never rebuked me. And nor did he curse me for my behavior. Meaning, look at his disposition, his quality of mercy, of kindness, how he considered each person at his own level, right? The man was urinating, maybe he's come from a tribe that just does stuff like that, right? You had some harsh tribes in Arabia, right? Like, for example, an example of a harsh tribe was when the man came from Bani Tamim, I think, which was a harsh tribe, Bedouins living in the desert in the harsh conditions that made them harsh. He comes along and he sees the Prophet distributing food to his companions. But he came just a few minutes late in the day. The Prophet had finished, the food was finished, right? There was nothing left. And the man came, but when he came, he pulled the cloak of the Prophet from behind him like this. The man wasn't a Muslim, by the way, he wasn't a Muslim. But he pulled the Prophet's cloak like this. And the companions, they testified and they said that we could see the mark that was left around the neck of the Prophet. They got up like with their swords almost. And they spelled, as if the guys come to assassinate him or to kill him. How dare this man enter our domain and treat our Prophet like this? Right? And the Prophet says to them, leave him. He asked the man, what is it that you're asking for? He said, I want that thing which Allah has given you. Meaning, he assumed that Prophet had some newfound wealth, although he lived very poor life during his life, in very poor circumstances. Right? He died with next to nothing, with no inheritance, with no empire, with no money, nothing. In fact, his wife Aisha says that our house, the fire did not burn in our house, the house of Muhammad, for 3 moons, meaning for 3 months. We didn't have fire burning. They asked, how did you survive? They said, swadain, from water and dates. That's what we used to do. That was the diet of the Prophet. She would say the Prophet never ate since the time he became a prophet until the day he died 2 full meals in his life on any single day. He never ate from a table that was more than a handspan high. Right? He didn't like comfortable clothing. In fact, once Umar saw him, right, he came to his house and he saw the Prophet's back, and he had marks on his back. He had marks on his back, and Umar asked the Prophet, he said to, O Messenger of Allah, I've seen the kings of Rome and Persia living with opulence and in this grandeur, experiencing the benefits and the blessings of life, right? They have comfortable bedding and beds, right? And the Prophet says to him, Umar, he says, oh, Umar, are you not pleased, Umar? What's agitating you, Umar? Are you not pleased that they have this life, we have the next? Does that not please you? Let them have the transitory, fleeting, passing, illusory life. But we will have the next. So we will show patience. Right? And so, back to the story that we were with, he said, this man never scolded me, he never rebuked me. In another story, another example, these are all authentic narrations, by the way, with authentic chains, strong chains of narration. A man came to the Prophet, he was a young chap, and he said, Ya Rasulullah, idhni bizina, or Messenger of Allah, allow me to commit adultery. Now, what were the questions? O Messenger of Allah, allow me to commit adultery. Meaning, don't make it allowed for everyone else, but give me some kind of special and specific ruling, right? That appeals to my instincts or my lust, if you like, right? Allow me to commit adultery. Now, but suddenly he brought this man close to him. He says, come close. The man came close. But by the way, the companions, when they had this question again, they began to say, how dare you ask this kind of question to our Prophet? They brought this man, he brought this man close and said, come down, Ijli, sit down with me. He said to this man, would you like that for your mother? The man said, no, of course I wouldn't like anyone to do that to my mother. He says, وَلَلنَّاسُ يُحِبُّونَهُ لِأُمَّهَاتِهِمْ. Neither will the people like that for their mothers. أَتُحِبُّهُ لِإِبْنَتِكَ. Would you like that for your daughter? He said, no, by Allah, may I be a ransom for you. He says, وَلَلنَّاسُ يُحِبُّونَهُ لِبَنَاتِهِمْ. And neither will the people like that for their daughters. أَتُحِبُّهُ لِأُخْتِكَ. Would you like that for your sister? No, by Allah. وَلَلنَّاسُ يُحِبُّونَهُ لِأَخَوَاتِهِمْ. Neither will the people like that for their daughters and for their sisters and for their aunts, and it went on. Until the Prophet placed his hand on this man's chest and he says, Allahumma ighfir dhanbahu wa tahhir qalbahu wa hassin farjahu. Oh Allah, forgive this man's sins and purify his heart and protect him from that kind of evil. And the man said, I never had a problem with that after that day. Because he was taught by example, taught by love. In some cases, the person would take the hands of people. Like the famous hadith of Mu'adh ibn Jabal, you could do a complete talk about him. In fact, he's an amazing Sahabi, amazing companion. Once the Prophet took his hands. And here's an advice for those of you who are working in Islamic society about teaching and instructing people. If you want to take your Prophet's example, and of course you should, he took Mu'adh by the hand and he says, Ya Mu'adh, inni uhibbuk, Mu'adh, I love you. How many of us could say that to their fellow man? With all innocence, of course, that is human love that we might show towards one another. He says, Ya Mu'adh, oh Mu'adh, inni uhibbuk, Mu'adh, I love you. That is the mufrad in the Arabic, that is not jama. That is not inni uhibbukum, I love all of you. He's singling out Mu'adh. Mu'adh, you know what? You doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Mu'adh, I love you. Faqul, so say what? O Messenger of Allah. Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. Well, we should read 5 times a day after our prayers, right? Oh Allah, a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. Oh Allah, I ask for your awn support or assistance. I ask for your support in that I may remember you, in that I may thank you, and worship you well. Because of course you cannot remember or thank God unless Allah inspires you with the ability to be a thankful person, a grateful person. How grateful was the Prophet ﷺ? You know how grateful he was? In fact, if we had the time, if we don't have the time because I just had my card, was when the Prophet's wife Aisha saw the Prophet praying the entire night. Right? That was his routine, normal for him to pray in the night when everyone was asleep. What did he say in one hadith, by the way? أفشوا السلام وأطعموا الطعام وصلوا بالليل والناس نيام تدخلوا الجنة بالسلام وكما قال أفشوا السلام. Spread peace everywhere. Spread salam everywhere. Assalamu alaikum. How beautiful is that? Peace be unto you. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. Right? Think about what it means when you say that. Don't just say assalamu alaikum. No. Right? Think about what you're saying. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. Do you really wish peace? If you wish peace unto me, you give me everything, right? If I wish peace for you, I do anything for you. Like Ibn Qayyim would say, "Ushkur liman an'ama alayk wa an'am ala man shakara lak." Thank the one who does you a favor, and do a favor to the one that thanks you. Right? You would always live with this. Imagine the world was like that, right? With this kind of reciprocation of gifts and kindness and good words and kindness and gifts and kindness and more of the same and so on and so forth. The Prophet would pray the entire night, and Aisha asked him, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah, how are you doing this even though you know that you're a prophet and Allah has cleaned your slate and your soul this and that? Why would you need to pray the entire night until your feet are swollen? Look at the Prophet's quarters. His house was how big? 4 meters by 3 meters, right? That's all. Very meager possessions in his life, and his Prophet's companions emulated that. Abu Bakr died with 11 patches in his clothes. Umar, Ali, the same. Ali was very amazingly austere. He had no sense of inclination for the love of this world. Umar bin Abdul Aziz, those who came later with patches in their clothes, and you could say so much, but time is against us. But just back to the point. Right, he prayed the entire night, and Aisha, she said, "You're doing this, O Messenger of Allah, when Allah clean your slate." What did he say? أَفَلَا أَكُونَ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا. Should I not be an extremely grateful servant to my Lord? Those of you who know Arabic will notice that the shakur is different to the shakir. Like the fa'ul is not the fa'il. Like we may be shakirin, dhakirin, sabirin, shakir. Right, we are thankful because we have a blessing come our way. The shakur is the one who will show thanks at the calamity. Even when the odds are against him, when the world is taken away from him, he's still thankful to Allah. For what? Oftentimes, of course, we forget what we have. We're always looking for the big thing, looking for the job promotion. And when I have the job promotion, I'm going to bow my head and pray. I'm going to do this and that, waiting for the child to be born. Up until that time, it's all about, I can't be both really, but when the child is born, right, then you will see how pious I become. Or when, of course, all of you, relevant for you guys, when you graduate, right? The wonderful feeling of graduating, wearing your funky hat and your clothing, your gown, right? And you say, you know what, okay, brother, my dear brother, I'm going to pray so much, I'm going to be so thankful to God for allowing me to graduate, okay. Right, that is the example of the shakir. But the shakur is the one who will thank Allah because he remembers what he always has with him. He always has his hands. He can breathe. He has eyes. He has ears. He has tongue. The Prophet Muhammad instructed his companions and all of us, look to the one who has less than you. Not to the one who has more than you. فهو أجدر أن لا تزدروا نعمة الله عليكم أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. Because if you're always looking to the one who has more, that will make you underestimate, undermine the favor of Allah, the favor of God upon you. Right? You still have what people do not have. Like the example of that scholar in Egypt who says, I became very angry when someone nicked my shoes, right? Or took them by mistake, like from the mosque or whatever, until the day I saw a man with no feet. until the day I saw a man who